Willie D Live.
What's up, family? There's a town in Arkansas that's drawing a lot of attention to itself. Why? Well, allegedly, in 2025, somebody invested in a whites-only town. Yeah, fam, it's going down. So I heard a lot of talk about this whites-only town, and I said to myself, Seth, let's look into it. So check this out. Here's an article from Times Now that I pulled up on the town. And fam, I think you're going to find this very interesting. Let's get into it. Inside the new whites-only town that has cropped up in Arkansas, but can it survive the law? Deep in the Ozark Mountains, a dirt road winds to a 160-acre settlement near Ravenden, Arkansas, where Return to the Land, RTTL, has carved out a controversial whites-only community. Since October 2023, founder Eric Oro and about 40 residents, mostly millennials and Gen Z, have built cabins, dug wells, and set up a community center and schoolhouse, all while openly barring blacks, gays, Jews, and anyone not of European ancestry, according to Sky News. Oro, unapologetic, told Sky News he's crafting a fortress for the white race. But with Arkansas officials and civil rights groups circling, the question looms: can RTTL's vision survive the law? RTTL's rise has drawn sharp criticism, with Arkansas Attorney General Ken Griffin declaring, "Racial discrimination has no place in Arkansas or anywhere in a free society," per the Independent. The group's Telegram chats, peppered with Nazi references like 1488, code for a white supremacist slogan, and Hail Hitler, per Sky News, reveal a far-right ideology that fueled viral backlash. As RTTL eyes 3 new settlements and boasts hundreds of global applicants, legal experts argue its practices violate the 1968 Fair Housing Act, setting the stage for a courtroom showdown. RTTL's 160 acres, chosen for Arkansas's cheap land and loose building rules, host a rugged off-grid life with ticks, heat, and scratchy living. Yet residents like David, an early member, told Sky News, "There's nothing else like this in the country." Oro, a YouTuber with 14,000 subscribers, pitches RTTL as a haven for white Americans who value their ancestries, opposing mass immigration and multiculturalism, according to a report by the Independent. His deputy, Peter Sear, who posted 1488 online, helps run the show, claiming the PMA structure requiring vetted members to buy LLC chairs for land dodges anti-discrimination laws, per Sky News. Now check out the application process, family. It is very strict. A video call verifies ethnic identity, and non-Christians except pagans, Muslims, and LGBTQ plus people are banned. Oro's grand plan, it includes homeschooling, healthcare networks, and legal advocacy, with dreams of RTTL chapters in all 50 states. Sky News reported that some members may include law enforcement or federal agents, though they shunned journalists. Let's stop right there. Some members may include law enforcement or federal agents, though they shun journalists. You better believe some members will include law enforcement and federal agents, because all around America, law enforcement and federal agents, judges, yeah, doctors, educators, business people, your bankers, especially. They're in communities like this all over the United States. This is not a new concept. Now, on the surface, fam, I could care less about some backwoods country ass place in the mountains. It ain't somewhere where I would ever be caught dead. It don't look appealing to me at all. Look at this. And family, I don't have the benefit of letting you hear their voices, but you can look this up and you can hear how they talk. Look how they look. You already know these are backwoods Neanderthals. I wouldn't want to be nowhere around that anyway. That ain't my style. But look at them raising the little ones. See, racism is taught. They're teaching them. They're teaching them to hate. Look at them, man. I could care less. I really could. The idea of a whites only town in Arkansas isn't exactly new in the United States. There's a long, ugly history of similar efforts dating all the way back to sundown towns and racially restrictive covenants. So what's happening now might be more explicit in language or branding, but the core idea isn't original. It's just the latest spin on an old playbook. Legally trying to create an all-white town in modern America runs up against civil rights laws, fair housing laws, and basic constitutional protections. But even setting the legal side aside for a second, the core issue isn't just who chooses to live in a place, it's how that place operates. So if the people behind it truly plan to isolate themselves and not harm or harass others, people might call it offensive, but it wouldn't necessarily rise to public crisis. The problem is that history and often intent shows that towns like these don't just mind their own business. They usually bring a mindset that fosters exclusion, intimidation, and sometimes outright violence. They breed uncivilized mutts. And here's another thing. If they really plan to use public roads, utilities, emergency services, and other infrastructure that non-white Arkansans pay taxes to support, then it's not some isolated private experiment. It's a public issue. You can't claim to want to separate from society that you don't like while still benefiting from the system everyone else pays into. So yeah, it's not the first time, and it won't automatically be a problem if they were just self-sustaining, if they were just a self-sustaining private commune. But history and context says otherwise. And if they're using public resources or spreading hate, it's everybody's business. And we know that's what they're gonna do. We know their type. We know them. Let me take this ugly ass picture down. We know them. We know their type. This is not something new. This is not a new concept. All over America, America is peppered with sundown towns. America is peppered with this type of ideology where we're going to create our own little enclave, and this is going to be for the whites only, and we're not messing with anybody. We have a right to just live amongst our own. You know, that ain't the problem. That's never been the problem. As the article stated, this is a free society, or as the governor stated, this is a free society. People should be able to live where they want to live, whatever their money can afford. That's where you should be able to live. The problem here is they got 160 acres. They don't own all the land around that's adjacent to that 160 acres. So what about somebody wanting to build a house outside of their 160 acres, 1 acre over, or 5 acres over, 100 acres over? What type of pressure are they going to try to put on that person who don't look like them, who don't fit their description or their criteria? What type of pressure are they going to try to put on them? What type of hate is that family going to face just by being in close proximity to the uncivilized mutt? See, that's the problem. So we can talk about the black people that are building black communities, Asian communities, Hispanic communities, and all that stuff. The difference is these people that are building those communities are not telling white folks, you can't live here. They're saying we're building this community. Now, if somebody wants to move in, they have a free right to move in. And you can bet you a dollar to a donut, they're not going to be subjected to any type of violence or abuse. Because that ain't how the other groups get down on white folks. Right now, in any part of the United States of America, a white family can move into a predominantly black neighborhood and they ain't gonna have no problems. Flip the script and see what happens. And here's another thing. So, you know, they gotta have law enforcement. So when they put law enforcement in place, you know what type of law enforcement that's going to be there. And the thing is that the law don't just cover their community. They also have jurisdiction outside of their community. So when they sitting their little country asses back down that road, watching people who ain't got no intention on stopping in their little community, visiting at all, they're passing right by, they writing tickets. That's how they're going to fuel. That's how they'll fuel the economy. Hustling, policing for profit, and shaking down non-whites who pass through their town, who ride down those streets. So you better believe that you're going to have members of law enforcement. You better believe you're going to have federal agents. You better believe you're going to have school teachers, doctors. You're going to have people who work for the government that's part of that community. See, that's the problem. Those type of communities are built on hate. So they plan to not just mind their own business. They plan to make life difficult for anybody they come in contact with, especially in close proximity to where they live. That's the problem. I couldn't give a damn that they want to go live by themselves. Take your country ass on. Go as far away as possible. Dig a hole if you can. I don't want to look at you. I don't need you and don't want you. Go. I have no problem. The problem is we know why you're building the community. The problem is your intent. Yeah, that's the problem. And the intent is not just to have an all-white society. That ain't the intent. And let's get this straight too, because there is this notion that somehow this all white community is going to be safe for everybody that's in it. You better keep in mind that most crimes that are committed against white folks are committed by white folks. So when those little girls and even boys or women get violated sexually, they're going to be violated by members of their own community. Let's get that straight. Remember that. Just like the ones who are grown right now who have been violated was violated by people who look like them. Our strongest convictions we develop growing up. And we have these convictions based on our interactions with people who mostly look like us. So if you've ever been sexually assaulted, it was probably somebody that looked like you, because remember, you don't like nobody else. You don't like being around nobody else. You know? It was probably somebody that looked like you. If you got your heart broken, it was probably somebody that looked like you. If you loaned somebody some money and never got it back, it was probably somebody that looked like you. These are things that make us, that shapes our identity, that shapes our character, that gives us our world views, that gives us our views of the world, right? If somebody chased you home from school, put fear in your heart, it was probably somebody that looked like you. You got passed over for a job, it was probably somebody that looked like you. I could go on and on and on with these convictions that we have that have shaped the worst parts of us, right? These convictions that we developed were shaped by people who mostly look like us, the worst parts of us. The part where we don't trust, right? They are shaped by people who look like us, mostly. So how is it that you've had zero to almost no interaction with people over here, but you hate them more than anything because you's a goddamn hypocrite? That's why. Because if you cut off your own race, you're gonna run out of people to hate. You're gonna run out of people. So it's more convenient to just wallow in the sorrow that you're used to, that you're familiar with. Let me be clear. I have no problem with the uncivilized mutt wanting to be left alone. The problem is that history and intent shows us that towns like these don't just mind their own business. They usually bring a mindset that fosters exclusion, intimidation, and outright violence. And this little raggedy ass backwoods town ain't gonna be no different. But what say you, fam? Drop a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. No more talk.